The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Yay, Mark. I'm glad everyone involved chose not to press charges so you could be here today.
Why do you say that, Robert?
Because you and I both know... Okay, so everyone understands what I'm about to do here. I'm about to pay off one of the longest running gags in the network. Okay? Because when Channing Tatum walked out in that god-awful costume, Mark Radulich immediately stripped naked and ejaculated all over that theater.
I didn't want to do this. I really didn't, and I was hoping... Hang on. Also joining us tonight is Tate. How you doing, Chae?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. Give Dorian our best. We wish him well.
Mm-hmm.
Also joining us tonight is Zachary and his minions. How do you doing, Zachary?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, my God, you're on something that doesn't involve cartoons. Good for you, kind of.
Yeah, it's the first
Well,
for you.
All right. I'm going to talk to my friends, Chae and Zachary, for just a moment, okay? Everyone I know is a bag of dicks. Not you guys. You guys don't change a thing. Everybody else is a bag of dicks, and here's why. So for the longest time, I did what, people who are into movies do. I did research. I would read the trades. I would read the news. And I would say, oh, look, Gore Verbinski has been tapped to direct the Gambit movie. Oh, look, Fox is all in on a bunch of different Marvel X-Men adjacent movies, mutant movies, et cetera, et cetera. The Gambit movie with Channing Tatum got kicked around a lot. And I would get credible information from a viable trade that most industry insiders were reading at the time that said there was going to be a multiple man movie, a Gambit movie, a New Mutants movie, which there was, etc. And I would share this news with what I would thought were my friends. And then when it didn't happen, because it's not like in Hollywood, things are greenlit and then fall apart and don't happen. Nicolas Cage's Superman, etc. So, but for whatever reason, me assuming that like there were professionals in Hollywood, adults in Hollywood that were going to get this Gambit movie because Channing Tatum was like solidly behind this, which was a passion project of his, and me just repeating that turned into the jerks I work with, my friends, relentlessly beating this horse to death. There is no meat on this horse, it's just bones. And that is what he's talking about. The fact that 100 years ago, I read in the trades there was going to be a Gambit movie. And there was much laughter.
Okay, hang on. Mark, let's not pretend you're the victim here, okay?
Oh, I am the victim. But go on.
Hang on. You're not okay. You came out on the wrong end of the fight. That doesn't make you a victim. Okay. You decided every so often, hey, Gambit's happening. See you idiots who doubted me? And we all said it's never happening. This is how this actually went.
That Gambit was happening. I'm not entirely sure I was that, confident about it, but sure.
No, but every time the story first time it got brought up, a bunch of us said this is never happening. This is stupid.
All of you say that. Oh, you're doubting Thomas's and gloomy people. Everything is going to bomb. Nothing is ever coming out, and everything is terrible.
Did you ever get your bet with Gavin about this?
We've had so many bets. Which one are you referring to?
Mark made a bet about the Gambit movie actually happening and making $1 billion.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I have in some ways honored that bet.
I believe you have, but let's not pretend that you just shared innocent information and we all jumped on you with pitchforks. This was dialogue that you came out on the losing end of.
All right. Are you done now?
Welcome to the last Damn You Hollywood, everybody. That's how this is going. So, yeah, so everybody knows, if I just spoiled something that you were desperately eager to see, turn away now, the rest of it's going to.
Okay.
Just so everyone's clear about this.
All right. So tonight, I got to move this on. We're
talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, Mark.
There you go, monkey. Deadpool and Wolverine is a 2024 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics featuring the characters Deadpool and Wolverine, don't you know? Produced by Marvel Studios, Maximum Effort, and 21 Laps Entertainment, and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It's the 34th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the sequel to Deadpool 2016 and Deadpool 2020. It was directed by Shawn Levy from a screenplay he wrote with Ryan Reynolds, Rhett Reese, Wernick, Zeb Wells. Reynolds and Hugh Jackman star as Wade Wilson and Deadpool and Logan Wolverine, respectively, alongside Emma Corrin, Morena Baccarin, who's barely in the movie, Rob Delaney, who's in the movie more than she is, Leslie Uggams, also in the movie more than Morena Baccarin, Aaron Stanford, and Matthew Macfadyen in supporting roles. In the film, Deadpool is pulled from his quiet life by the Time Variance Authority, who you saw from Loki, and he partners with the reluctant Wolverine.
Assuming anyone watched Loki.
To save his universe. All right, Chae, I'll go to you first. You had asked to come on tonight to talk Wolverine and Deadpool and Wolverine. You a fan of the Deadpool comics or what?
Yeah, so I'm a longtime fan of like X-Men and the Deadpool comics, a lot of Marvel stuff in general. I just really like comic books as an art form. And I like weird ass comedies, and this is a fucking weird ass comedy. So yeah, and it just Deadpool from the start was something that was very much right up my alley.
You're talking about just like the fourth wall breaking and the irreverent humor and, you know, like that hard R, like we're really going for it mentality that they went with.
Oh yeah, and on top of that, my favorite comedies are parody comedies that are about a genre that the person who's making them obviously very much loves. Young Frankenstein is one of my favorite comedies. I just brain farted. Cabin in the Woods is another one. Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Anything that takes the tropes that we know and love about the genres that we know and love, and either turns them on their heads or makes a really interesting commentary about that.
Yeah, if nothing else, Deadpool was in many ways a satire of the superhero genre, especially at a time where, 2016, Marvel's still cooking with gas. I mean, we're only 3 years away from Endgame, but still, there was a lot to skewer there, and they certainly did. And definitely kind of coming off the tail end of the Fox Marvel stuff. You know, I think by that point, Dark Phoenix, I don't think it had come out yet, but we had gotten Apocalypse maybe. We definitely gotten Days of Future Past and First Class. We had finished up the X-Men trilogy. We had gotten, I don't believe we'd gotten Logan just yet, but we did get the Wolverine. And of course, who could forget? And you can check out our on trial of it, X-Men Origins Wolverine. So there was a lot of grist for the mill for them to play with. And this was clearly a passion project for Ryan Reynolds. He believed in the character, and there's a whole lore as to how the footage got out that got Fox to buy into this, because they were notoriously cowardly in wanting to do this movie the right way. And he showed them, didn't he? Zachary, you generally come on for the animated stuff. This is a departure for you. What gives? What's your deal?
Well, I just found out that I am.
Here we go.
Well, I was gonna. I just. I don't know. I just wanted to change a pace. I mean, it is a comedy, so it isn't too far out, but it is. Really, stuff I review is like PG-13. because no one makes G movies anymore. But I like the first 2 Deadpools. I thought they were really good. I'm not really the biggest Marvel fan, especially not really the biggest fan of Fox's Marvel. I don't know. I think all those movies came out when I was like still in elementary school, like starting middle school. So I think I was a little too young to see or grow up with that or have nostalgia for it.
Your mom wasn't one of those who accidentally took you to a Deadpool movie without realizing it's rated R and was horrified, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of those stories.
There is something interesting you should know. I don't know if I ever told you this, but actually I used to work for Fox. I used to animate for Archer, so
that's cool.
Yeah, I did it when I was like 19. I animated like 2 frames before I found out I wasn't getting credit. But it's still there. Still there.
Good for you, buddy. Did you ever read the Deadpool comics?
No, I actually did not have many opportunities for comics at all. My mom thought they would rot my brain. And
all right. I was not the world's biggest Deadpool fan. I liked the first movie. Robin and I reviewed it. We talk about this all the time. I don't want to belabor it, but it's definitely the infamous podcast where Robert, and I just listened to it. I literally just listened to this the other day. So the summation of that podcast goes something like this. Me going, this was a lot of fun. I liked it. It has some problems. Here are the problems with it. And Robert going, I didn't like it. And it's bad. And I went, wait, now you can't just say it's bad because you didn't like it. You have to talk about why you think it's bad. And that's separate from you not liking something. And we went around and around and around about it. And that's when Robert months later was just like, yeah, I need to when Mark is on the attack, I need to learn how to circle and punch back. Is that about right, Robert?
More or less.
Yeah. The second Deadpool, I think your opinion was more of the same. It was all right. It's not your sense of humor. It's not really your style of movie, but it was solid motion picture making. And I think at the time, my opinion was this felt less like a Deadpool movie and like just another comic book movie.
Yeah.
So that being said, I just really quickly want to touch on Wolverine and his movies and comics. I read some X-Men. I've read sparingly little Wolverine. Usually if I read something with Wolverine, it's either a team-up book or, a part of a crossover or something like that. I don't think I never read I'm aware of the Chris Claremont run on Wolverine and all of that. So I know a lot of the lore, but I never read many of his books. We talked about X-Men Origins Wolverine on an on trial, and
it's indefensible.
And
there's 3 high points, legitimately 3 like good things about that movie. The rest of it's crap.
I think I said if you can let go of the Deadpool stuff, there's some good structural stuff to be had. The Wolverine I actually just watched with Jonas again. It's a solid romp through Japan, and then Logan
2/3 of a good movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When we get to the Silver Samurai, it goes right off a cliff, as does the Silver Samurai. And then Logan was darn near perfect. I don't think you and I had a cross thing to say about Logan.
Not really.
James Mangold did a real good job with it. So quick 50 words on the Wolverine there, Chae. You ever read the comic books? You said you're a big X-Men fan. Did you dig into his book specifically?
I've read a few of Wolverine's comic books. He was never really my favorite. He wasn't really the one that particularly grabbed me, in spite of the fact that we have height similarities. But Nightcrawler was always my favorite. Anytime I went to the comic book store, I always tried to find the one that had Nightcrawler splashed all over the cover.
Mm-hmm.
But I have read some of them. Actually, a lot more of my experience with Wolverine are the Spider-Man team-ups from some of the 2000s-ish comic books, and the cartoons.
Cool.
And then X-Men Evolution and stuff like that. So I'm not the biggest fan of Wolverine, but I definitely know a decent amount about him.
Mm-hmm. Did you see his 3 solo movies?
I have seen all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. I only remember Logan.
Yeah, you're better off that way.
That's fair.
That's the only one I remember.
That's perfectly acceptable. All right, Zachary, let me go over to you real quick. Your thoughts on the Wolverine character, if you've seen any of the movies, anything you want to add?
I haven't really seen too many of the movies. I saw them like all out of order.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I always found them a little slow paced, and I'm sure they're interesting, but I'm not really the best expert. I'm sorry. This is not very helpful at all.
All right. So just before we get into the plot synopsis, I want to prep everyone. Deadpool, again, Robert and I have talked a lot of Deadpool. We have referenced that review. We have referenced those movies. Robert is not a huge fan of this style of movie, this style of comedy. And it's Robert really has to stretch his reviewing muscles in order to give this thing a fair shake. Anything you want to add, Robert, before we get into it?
No, that's not an unfair recitation of how I approach these things.
All right. Let's get into the plot synopsis of this thing.
So we open with our sort of inciting incident, which is in the aftermath of using a time machine. Deadpool is now bounced around to different alternate realities instead of simply moving through time. And he interviews with Jon Favreau for a spot on the MCU, and it just doesn't quite go well because it doesn't. And then because one of the writers on this movie always does this to everything he's in, your main hero turns into a loser. He's now a car salesman, and he's single, and life sucks, and he wants to die.
Second verse, same as the first.
I forget which of the writers it is, but it's one of the guys who's got screenwriting credit for this, always does this. It's more than a little pathetic. Mm. And it's his birthday, and this is all saved by the appearance of the TVA, which I really hope you watched Loki. Otherwise, some of this just goes right over your head, and I feel sorry for you if you did watch Loki. Because I watched it, and it wasn't very good. He gets sucked into the TVA and is promised, hey, you can join the MCU, but your whole universe is going to die. And he's like, but for why, Basil Exposition? And Basil Exposition sits over there and goes, well, you see, for all these fictional universes, there's an anchor being. There's someone whose very existence makes sure that we can continue merchandising all this crap.
I don't mean to interrupt you. And I don't mean the person that interrupts you, because I usually want to punch that person. But you ever have a moment, and I'm sure you have, because I'm talking to you, but to the other people on the podcast who I want to get in this conversation. You ever have a moment where someone says something in the movie that's so stupid, that's so dumb, that's so contrived, you want to open mouth, scream obscenities at the screen to make it stop? And when I heard him go, your universe needs an anchor person, and I'm like, no. Like, I know, like, we just need to get the kids to the mall. We need to put Deadpool and Wolverine in a buddy cop, and who cares how we get there? And only fat neckbeards are gonna hate this. You're not wrong. It was awful, and honestly, it was the one moment of this movie where I was like, can we please not be this stupid? But keep going.
So we need some big name anchor point to continue merchandising all this. Please pay no attention to us recasting Robert Downey Jr. in real life. And for the 20th Century Fox extended Marvel properties, the anchor point was Wolverine. That was it. That was all they had. Pretty much everything else they tried. Not good.
I mean, Jennifer Lawrence to a lesser degree. We've
much lesser.
Yeah, we can have the discussion another time.
Sure. Mm-hmm. And not like she started phoning those in after her first appearance, but
I will never forget our review of Dark Phoenix, where it didn't seem like she was in character anymore, and she's just kind of whining into the camera.
Yeah, that's a lot of Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
So, but because Deadpool doesn't want to see his universe die, like a sane person, he grabs this guy's doohickey that lets him travel between timelines, and he starts hopping looking for another Wolverine that he can bring back to his universe. So he finds a comic accurate one, by which I mean he's 5'3", and somewhat horrifyingly animated with Hugh Jackman's face on a small body.
Oh god, that was so goddamn weird. And I know they did it on purpose, but like, that was unsettling.
After deciding he didn't want to team up,
perspective.
deciding that he didn't want to team up with an Oompa Loompa, he finds a brown suit Wolverine who's fighting the Hulk, and Mark creams because he loves the Hulk. No one else does, but Mark does. He finds Patch, which is a tuxedo-wearing variation. He finds the Wolverine that is crucified to an X on a sea of skulls, cover of a very famous, famous cover.
Yeah.
He finds the Age of Apocalypse Wolverine, which has metal hair. He finds Old Man Logan with his cowboy hat and shotgun. He tries to dig up the dead Logan from the Logan movie and finds just an adamantium skeleton because he's dead. He finds Henry Cavill as Wolverine because reasons. And ultimately he finds Hugh Jackman at a bar getting drunk. And he drags him back to the TVA and says, look, I brought you a Wolverine. I'm going to take it to my universe and we're going to be just fine and dandy, right? Merchandising opportunity. Look at it as it's on the floor, only half conscious. And the TVA guy laughs at him like, you can't just replace anchor beings. And besides, you brought the worst Wolverine. I forget which continuity they're drawing this character from, but this is based on some iteration of Wolverine.
I kept waiting for them to address the actual Old Man Logan stuff, where basically I think it's Mysterio who convinces Logan he's fighting the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and he's actually slaughtering the X-Men, which is the inciting incident for Old Man Logan.
Yeah, I forget who does it, but yeah, somebody just messes with his head and then
it's Mysterio. If there's another iteration where, in this one, not to take over the plot synopsis, but it's basically he ran off to go get drunk and mutant hunters showed up and killed everybody.
I was so waiting for a twist where it was like, no, the X-Men murdered all the humans and I had to put all of them down because they went dark and now I'm just horribly traumatized. But no, we can't have artistic courage. So they both get pruned and sent to the end of time where the big smoke monster that is totally not Galactus, no, it is kind of Galactus, roams the Earth, and they find Chris Evans.
Yay.
And, well, first of all, they fight. There's a fight between the two of them to hell's bells, because, of course, there is. Then, again, they stumble across Chris Evans, but it's not Captain America Chris Evans. It's Johnny Storm Chris Evans, because, hey, remember those movies? Oh, no, wait, most of our audience was born in the year 2010? Oh, right. A bunch of other people show up who have been forgotten for good reason, including the Tyler Mane iteration of Sabretooth and Toad and Pyro and Cannon Fodder, and Wolverine decapitates Sabretooth like you do, but they all wind up captured, and they're all dragged back to where Cassandra Nova exists. And Cassandra Nova, for those of you unaware of the actual comic lore, they explained it here, was the in utero twin of Charles Xavier, who tried to murder him in the womb, as they shared tremendous psychic power. It didn't go well. Yeah, and she was apparently sent here by the TVA at some point. And in the husk of a giant corpse of Ant-Man, they rule the end of time. Well, she does, because she's supremely powerful. And we get to see Johnny Storm with his skin ripped off.
That's what I came to see.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Fair enough.
We're not here to kink shame. Keep it going.
They escape when the smoke monster attacks. And they're supposed to... The whole premise here is we got to get back. We got to save people. And Deadpool lies to Wolverine that the TVA can totally fix your timeline, depending on exactly what went wrong. And I just got to deal with that glare for a minute or two. So they team up, they head out, they find another Ryan Reynolds, because there's a lot of Deadpools over here. There's a lot of Deadpool. So they find the world's ugliest dog. And they find Ryan Reynolds, normal-faced, in the Deadpool costume. He is handsome pool.
Nice pool.
I'm not calling him that.
Keep going.
And they get pointed like, hey, there's a band of, people who live on the Outlands. And, oh, sure, I can send you over that direction. Take my product placement car. And they do. And on the drive out, there's another fight between Wolverine and Deadpool. And honestly, it's the best dialogue reading in this whole stupid movie when Wolverine goes off on Deadpool.
Yeah. Honestly, if the movie had ended there, I'd have been happy. Just you are an ADHD riddled attention seeking whore, Finn. And we're done here. Thanks, everybody.
You're never gonna save the world. You couldn't save a relationship with a goddamn stripper. And I'd say you're gonna die alone, but it's one of God's great jokes that you can't die.
So good.
It's Hugh Jackman does the. I don't know what it is about the automobile setting, but if you put Hugh Jackman in a car, like, some of the best stuff in Logan is them in the car together, and it's just so they fight. After they fight to a draw, because neither of them can die, they are kidnapped and brought back to our cameo portion. They're kidnapped by X-23, by Honey Badger, Laura from a version of Laura from the X-Men movies, from Logan in particular. And then we get Jennifer Garner as Elektra, because people have fond memories of that movie, right? Right.
Hey, Evan and I did a wonderful triple feature featuring Elektra. Had a lovely conversation.
That movie sucks.
Just move on.
Then Wesley Snipes. This is the only cameo that genuinely shocked me. But Wesley Snipes on screen again with Ryan Reynolds is not something I ever had happening.
I forgot that was a Fox movie.
And if you want to know the horror story about the production of Blade Trinity...
Yeah, we all have Google. Just keep it going.
Look it up. And then Mark's favorite thing in the whole wide world. And
oh my God, I hate you.
Channing Tatum's Gambit. And get away. I don't want you over there, Kat. I don't need you pressing the power button on my computer accidentally when you're fiddling around. Then Gambit shows up, and I think I was born here. My movie never got off the ground. And I can only understand...
I hate myself that I laughed hard at that.
I completely understood, because as soon as he walked on screen, like, okay, none of this screen tests. Like, none of this looks good.
Yeah, no.
This was a terrible idea. I'm glad they stopped it. Deadpool tries to rally the troops. We can make a play for it, and she can send us out of the void. Send her cannon. Well, we just need a helmet that blocks psychic powers, right? And I know Magneto has one. He's dead. Ugh. Well, Juggernaut's does, and he's there, but we couldn't get Vinnie Jones back, so it's some other Juggernaut. And Logan is just not having any of this. He is just, fine, that's suicide. Go for it. But Laura's able to talk him into being a good guy. So they charge. We get our, so they load up, they charge the Paul Rudd thing, and we get a rocket launcher use, but it's the Punishers. Well, which one? There's been 5, and there have, in fact, been a lot of actors to play the Punisher. But there's only one Blade, only ever going to be one Blade. And I know that's supposed to be a joke, but that's coming closer and closer to being true the longer it takes those chuckleheads to figure out how to set a 70s blaxploitation movie with Mahershala Ali killing vampires. This isn't rocket science. So we get our big action set piece. They fight. Cassandra is nearly killed, but they need her to send them back to their home dimension, and she's got one of the little ring doohickeys from Doctor Strange, because she found a Doctor Strange variant and murdered him mercilessly. So she makes a portal, they jump through it, they go back home, and they go to stop the TVA from setting off their great big bomb. But around the same time, Cassandra interrogates Pyro and goes, "So why did you try to kill me?" And he goes, "Well, first of all, please don't stick your fingers into my brain. That's weird. I'll just tell you. We don't need to be weird about this." Yeah, the TVA paid me, basically. And she goes, "Oh, we had a deal, and they've reneged on it." So she shows up and is like, "You know what? I'm going to harness the power of your MacGuffin to MacGuffin away everything except the void." Okay. And then an army of Deadpool shows up, because we have to drag this out. And we get a great big fight scene. And this movie made me laugh twice. Wolverine using the ugly dog as a shield because all the Deadpools think it's the cutest thing in the world. I'm not going to lie. I kind of laughed at that. That was funny.
Sure.
If you have my sense of humor, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get that big fight, and it's going to go bad because there's a bunch of Deadpools, and you can't really kill Deadpool most of the time. But then Deadpool's sidekick buddy from the car dealership shows up and is like, "Hey, please don't kill my friend." And all the Deadpools go, "Hey, it's Peter. There's always a Peter for a Deadpool, and we all love this guy." And the power of plot compels everyone to just party with him while our heroes go do things. So they go confront one of the TVA guys who tells them how to short circuit the whole thing to make sure this doesn't actually work the way it's supposed to. And naturally our conflicted heroes who both kind of want to die argue about who gets to make the big self-sacrifice. And in the end, they both do it because it needs both of them. There's too much space between the two ports that they have to. I really Richard Pryor needed to drag the drunk security guard over here and give him the Philly Flash.
He's at the same time. You think you've beaten me, haven't you? The Philly Flash.
I love that you understand that reference and are willing to go with me when I make it.
Superman 3.
So they join hands as Madonna plays, and they mix matter and antimatter, and everything blows up. And then the other TVA people show up, and they're like, "Yeah, you should probably know who we are." And the rogue guy who's trying to nuke this whole universe goes, "Yes, they died horribly. They were my friends. They were heroes." And then they walk out of the room, and Deadpool just goes, "Yeah, we have plot armor, dumbass." In all honesty, I would have respected it more if that was the line. So that guy gets taken away. They've somehow created a new anchor being here. It's, spoiler alert, it's Deadpool because he's the merchandising opportunity. But the TVA agrees to get a few of their friends out of purgatory, mostly just Laura. We're not doing Wesley Snipes again. We all know that. So get a few of them out of purgatory. And everybody has their big happily ever after now. And we close with we have two closing bits. One, a montage set to a semi-sad Green Day song about, hey, remember all the good times from the early 2000s Fox superhero movies? At which point I just had to almost punch the guy in front of me because I was there. I'm not nostalgic for your bad product.
Okay.
You want to, no. Then I was willing to go with the X-Men ones. Okay. I would go with that. But no, hey, Dark Phoenix.
I was going to say, no, then they showed Fan Four Stick, and that's
then Four Stick, and I wanted to kill somebody.
Then Robert set the theater on fire.
I saw that movie.
Yes, Robert. People did.
I know. We formed a support group after that. That was so bad.
Then there's the bit where they show the footage of Johnny Storm cursing out.
Yeah. So the reason Johnny Storm dies is Deadpool basically says he said all these terrible things about you, and then she murders him. And the assumption is no, Deadpool just did that because he's kind of a jackass. So we get this where no, Johnny Storm says all that and more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's including saying, and you can quote me. So then he, does later to Cassandra.
All right. So real quick, my son's funniest comment about this, and I'm going to go over to Chae. So when they both sacrifice themselves, yet again, drawing on Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and not really understanding why all that works, but hey, I don't have time for that. But he goes, so let me get this straight. They formed a circuit. They both blew up, but only Wolverine's shirt came off. Not Deadpool's jumpsuit, not Wolverine's pants, because who doesn't, and this is my son, my hetero, flexible 10-year-old son. It's like, because who doesn't want to see Hugh Jackman's cock? And I'm like, oh my God. He's not wrong, but
they'd exhausted the CGI budget. They couldn't afford it.
Yeah, well, and he was like, so let me get this straight. Only your shirt blows off? What the fuck is this? He's like, it was the most unbelievable thing in the entire movie. How does only your shirt blow off? And I'm like, alrighty, Jonas.
Same way Hulk's pants survive.
Yeah. I laughed at that particular observation. Go ahead, Chae.
Oh no, that was my only comment.
Well, what did you think of the movie?
Pants don't come off because spandex.
Exactly. What did you think of the movie, Chae?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a laugh a minute. And it's really obvious that Ryan Reynolds absolutely loves Deadpool, loves the Marvel comics. And he's got the irreverent sense of humor enough to make exactly the kind of comedies that I like. Because I like weird shit like the last Chucky movies and Cabin.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Oh yeah, I have some strange preferences for horror movies. But it did, and it poked fun and absolutely everything in the Marvel series. And honestly, I think it was a really perfect way for Marvel to kind of recognize that the TVA is.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I actually have to take care of something really quickly. I'll be right back. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Chae.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
You're good.
I'll be right back.
Keep going.
And yeah, I think it was a really good way for them to recognize what everybody already knew. The TVA is their god machine, so that they can reboot the universes whenever they want.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a damn fun romp, and everybody went to see Wolverine and Deadpool beat the shit out of each other anyway, and we got a ton of that. And it was so much fun.
One might argue a little too much, but yes, there was definitely a lot. Boy, if you came to see Deadpool and Wolverine fight, you got that a plum. Was there anything about the movie that didn't work for you or that you felt like was not the strongest?
I mean, the plot wasn't the strongest, but considering that it is a Deadpool movie and most of my experience with Deadpool, aside from him falling in love with death, is the meme material. Like, a good fucking chunk of Deadpool's entire persona is meme fodder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think any of his storylines have been strong on plot.
Yeah.
And certainly not the other two movies. The second one was a little meatier in terms of plot. Like I said, but it was closer to an actual like superhero movie than either the first one or this one. Is there anything else before we move on that you want to add?
I just want to say, while Channing Tatum was not the best person to be Gambit, I would fucking love a Gambit movie.
Don't say that too loud. My friends will beat you to death for the next 10 years.
You, Mark, again, you fed into that more than as much as we played into it.
You need to get lives, okay?
Yeah, says the guy in charge of the black hole.
Touche. I'm gonna go next, and Zachary.
Okay, I'm back.
Perfect timing. Zachary, what'd you think of this movie?
Okay, so I thought it was really good. Hold on, I had to take care of my dogs for a second. They were like doing something. I thought it was good. Sorry, I'm out of breath. I'm trying to move really fast. Okay, hold on 1 second. Take two. Okay. So the movie was really good, but I thought it was really, really stupid. But like in the best way. What I like about it is there are two things that bother me about the movie, but I'll talk about the good stuff first. It is very funny. The only thing is, I felt like while watching it, I felt like it was pretty hit or miss. But then when I walked out of the theater, and my theater was full of kids, by the way. I don't know if your theater.
Families having a grand old time at the rated R movie.
Weird.
Disney magic. It was
Some very awkward conversations will be had after.
Learn some new words.
Hang on 1 second. So there's a really great line in Ted Lasso where Roy Kent says to Ted, he was like, "Was that too many fucks?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's like the nipples in Showgirls. After a while, you just get sucked into the narrative." That's kind of how I felt about Deadpool and all the language. I'm sure after a while, nobody even noticed it anymore. It was so much of it.
Yeah, but like I was saying, while I was watching it, I felt like, okay, this is pretty hit or miss. It's stupid. I mean, when I think back on it, like a little bit after I just realized what the fudge I just watched, I actually had a very positive experience. I did laugh a lot and I did enjoy myself. I think the soundtrack is great. I think the performances are great, especially from Hugh Jackman, who he could have played this like not cared. It would just been it just could have been a paycheck role, but I could tell like he really like was having fun being back and really sold the dramatic parts. The two things that really, well, first of all, for those who don't know, like Mark mentioned, this is an rated R movie. Even the guy who brought it to us, Ryan Rodney Reynolds, that's 3 R's. I want to think.
Actually, a really good movie.
Really, I never saw it.
I think it's on Netflix. Yeah, it's you got to do it with subtitles, but if you don't mind the Indian style of filmmaking, it's really good. Speaking
of weird movies, Chae, they throw tigers at each other.
There is a scene where one of them drives a semi-truck that carries the menagerie of this Indian, not the British occupier, but like the guy working for them, and he crashes through a wall with it and sends this whole wave of exotic animals at a bunch of the British army. And yeah, it's phenomenal.
It is a weird movie.
Hilarious.
That's great.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
But the two things that really do bother me about this movie, and they're little things, but they really do add up. Number one, I didn't think it was necessary for Wade and Vanessa to break up. I know that was kind of.
It's not. Again, it's the stupid setup from the same one-trick pony screenwriter.
Exactly. But it's just annoying because like she was like, for the whole point of the first 2 movies was just so he could just be with her, and then like they just break off screen between movies. I'm like, that's why do that? And I know they give a lazy reason. I know it ties into the theme, but I mean, you could have still had your theme about like, and it's so little and it's resolved so fast. It's just It actually kind of made me angry.
This guy does the sad, lonely breakup the same way like Roland Emmerich insists on you're broken up and the wife's remarried and I get to murder the new husband because he's not working through issues on screen.
Damn it, you beat me to it.
But the other thing I don't like is because the movie, I don't know how accurate it is, but a lot of sources are saying this movie cost $200 million. Why does it look so cheap? I know why.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're really not wrong.
Yeah, I was listening to the critically acclaimed guys, Half in the Bag guys, and they were like, "This was shot on 3 sound stages."
I know exactly, and I know why it was so expensive. The people they brought back, but it was
people they brought back, and we shot this like 90% green screen, so everything has to be digitally done, and that is expensive.
Yeah,
I know that, but the problem is like the first 2 Deadpools, especially the second one, they were good at hiding, and the first one too. They were good at hiding it. Like they set up atmosphere, like the scene where in the second movie where Wade turns to that guy and goes like, it's set like in the bar, it's set very dark and it's unwelcoming. He's like, no more speaking rules for you. Like that was funny because it was jarring. That's what made. Everything is shot so bright. It's obviously especially the Deadpool's fight, the Dead Pie. I don't know the plural term, but it was just because of this. It just doesn't feel like there's any stakes. I've seen less stakes at a vegan barbecue. That's how there's no stakes in here. But yeah, I just feel like if this is supposed to be like a big universe, why does everything look like a set?
Okay.
But overall, it was a good movie. I definitely see it. I know we've spoiled everything about it right now, but if you weren't listening or coming in right now, definitely see it. I recommend it.
All right. Let me get the gushing out of the way. This is the subjective stuff. Some odd reason, and I don't quite know why. whenever I talk to people about our show and about movie reviews in general, they're always like, "But did you like it?" You know, we have our friends in our podcast group that are always like, "Tell me you liked it. Please tell me you liked it. I can't live. I can't have sex with my wife tonight unless you tell me you like this movie that I like." I'm like, "All right, calm down, Chris Bailey." So,
It was so weird of him to put that much pressure about his marital happiness on your opinion of these movies, but I mean, he's committed to the bit at this point, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, so here for the seals and people who are just like, just tell me you liked it. I laughed a lot. I had an ear to ear smile for, I don't know, 2/3 of the movie. A couple of quick hits. First of all, the first fight between Wolverine and Deadpool, where I hear the gong, and I'm like, "Oh, it's from Who the Bell Tolls by oh, it's Hell's Bells. You motherfuckers."
Okay, Mark, if you confusing the two different gongs for those songs, you have not listened to both of them enough, because they are not the same bell.
That's fair, and I was in a moment. So I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get Metallica. That'll be all." Oh, god damn it. So there was that, but when the Johnny Storm reveal cracked me up. Like that was one where I don't know why in my brain I didn't connect Fantastic Four, but it took me until that reveal to be like, "Oh, that's right. Those are this too." And like, because I was thinking just the Fox X-Men stuff, you know, X-Men, X2, The Last Stand, Origins, Wolverine, Logan, you know, all that shit. So I had forgotten there are 3 Fantastic Four movies. Obviously, there's a Blade movie.
Oh no, there's technically 3. Yeah.
I did. God is my witness. Forgot Daredevil was a Fox movie.
The Ben Affleck one, yeah.
Yeah. So then Elektra was a Fox movie. So all of that, like, so when he does the flame on thing, I legitimately laughed out loud. Like there was a couple of moments where once again I am the only person laughing in the theater. Like I actually did a ha moment. And nobody else had made a sound. One of my kids kind of looked at me. They're like, "Yeah, you'll get it when you're older." Had a couple of moments like that. The speech between the monologue, we mentioned it before, between Wolverine and Deadpool, where he basically just lays into Deadpool. That's right up there with Paul Heyman the night before Survivor Series. It's amazing. What a well delivered monologue. And
that is the best thing in this movie. By a mile.
By far. And if you know somebody who's kind of like Deadpool, and I don't mean like breaks the fourth wall, I mean like an attention-seeking, you know, bratty, kind of immature idiot, hearing Wolverine speak for you, chef's kiss. So I was having a good time with that. Yeah, really, really was. I was like, "Oh, Wolverine, you speak for me."
We all knew at least one guy like that. In
least
college and probably past that you just wanted to lay into him.
Oh yeah, there is at least 1 or 2 people in my life who I'm gonna have that as my fucking ringtone. So for them, when they did the reveal of the heroes, and walks Elektra, which I had known about because I knew Jennifer Garner was in the movie. Did not know Wesley Snipes was in the movie, so Blade was and again I forgot Blade was a Fox. Legitimately surprised me. I will address this now. I marked out for Gambit. And not because, the Gambit movie. Because you people are just terrible. You don't get...
Mark, you popped for it because it's the culmination of several years of an in-joke between us.
Well,
that apropos of nothing related to us, paid off in one of the bigger movies of the year.
Whoever that is, like, you might need to mute yourself. Channing Tatum worked really, really hard. Like, if you go back and read some of the news stories that were coming out about it, there was a lot of that's better. There was a lot of behind the scenes stuff and a lot of false starts with the Gambit movie. And, you know, by the time they maybe kind of sort of got it rolling to the point where maybe kind of sort of they might have been able to start production on it, I think they may have had a working script. Disney bought Fox. The time ran out. And Disney proceeded to kill everything Marvel, Fox Marvel at the time. And okay, whatever. There was a lot of stuff coming out of Fox that was kind of like Sony and the Spider-Man adjacent movies. That's just fucking terrible. Madam Web, I am looking in your direction. So I've just, it was not, like, oh,
Hey,
my
did you
favorite
see the
character.
trailer for Venom: The Last Dance?
I did.
Sony has not stopped
yeah, no.
releasing terrible things.
And we're getting Kraven the Hunter later this year.
I'm hoping they pull that.
And throw
Take
it
the
in the river.
tax write-off.
My point being, I popped for the Gambit thing, not just because of the personal history with us, with this network and Fox Marvel, but because Channing Tatum really believed in that movie. He really pushed the shit out of it, and it's a shame the guy didn't get what he wanted out of it. Like, I'm
so glad he didn't get to burn $150 million on nothing that no one wanted.
I feel bad something that this guy believed in, this passion project didn't come to fruition. And I would think that about most anything. I want people to be happy and succeed and have the things they want in life. And this guy wanted a Gambit movie for some stupid reason. To be clear, not the world's biggest Gambit fan. Not why I wanted this. I wanted this because I wanted Channing Tatum to be happy. Don't we all want Channing Tatum to be happy? Anyway.
Not especially, no.
His costume looked ridiculous, but I'll tell you, his dialogue reading and Deadpool's reaction to it was some of the funniest exchanges in this entire movie.
Who is your dialect coach?
Yeah, I was going to say, who was your...
He is not doing Cajun.
No.
He's just doing bad French, and that's not Cajun.
There's a guy on TikTok
I don't know what it is, but it's so fucking hilarious.
There's a guy on TikTok who does the voice of the States, Ben something or other. And when he does New Orleans, it's barely understandable. It was kind of like that. But yeah, I like his whatever the fuck he's doing for Gambit. And then Ryan Reynolds going, "Who is your dialect coach?" I laughed pretty hard at that stuff. All right, so I had a good time at the movies. I enjoyed what I saw. I laughed at moments, and I'll tell you, say what you will about it, but I like a good love letter to the fans. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. For all the people that stuck with Kevin Smith through the New Jersey movies, the View Askewverse, at the end of the day when he did that, we were all like, thanks Kevin Smith. You gave us years of laughter. Let's not talk about what you're going to do after.
No, let's.
To Spider-Man No Way Home, was a nice denouement for those Spider-Man movies. So when you have something that's been with you for a long time and you have the opportunity to have a nice goodbye and you get a nice little love letter. I want to recognize that, and point it out. So I enjoyed the reel at the end set to Green Day's Good Riddance, Time of Your Life. I enjoyed it. Even the shots of Fan Four Stick, it was the behind the scenes stuff is so much better than that movie will ever be. That needs its own movie. And we had such joy talking about what a mess that movie was. So I can't knock it too much. Here's what's wrong with this movie.
I'm break in here. I think that joke is a joke behind a joke, because the Time of Your Life is a joke song about how fucking stupid all of the stuff that you find on like graduation cards and stuff is.
Yeah. My understanding of Good Riddance, Time of Your Life was basically, Billy Joel has said that that's their most punk rock song ever because it's their least punk rock song. Like it subverted expectations, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of also like Born in the USA, when nobody understands its actual meaning and it keeps being misused.
Yeah.
So either way, it worked. I enjoyed the reel at the end. The stuff with Chris Evans, like I got you and everything. Like it was a funny moment, and I'm not gonna take away people's moment to laugh, but who gives a fuck? I watched that and I'm just like, ugh. Not since Captain America did the PSA at the end of the second Spider-Man movie have I been so annoyed by it. An extra scene. Anyway,
was the only that stupid bit actually got the only like real laugh out of me. And there were a couple other things I'll talk about them, but Chris Evans going and just ad-libbing all of that, it felt like, for just like longer and longer than what Deadpool said when he was quoting him. That's like what actually kind of got a little bit of, but when your best joke is hidden at the end of your credits and doesn't mean anything, like that's a summation of my experience with this film.
All right, folks. Here are the craft problems with the movie. buckle in. This clocks in at a little over 2 hours. It's too long. They don't have enough story here for over a more than 2 hour movie. And, you know, I as a celebration of these characters, as a goodbye to the Fox Marvel movies, I get the need to sort of drag this out and make it feel epic. But let me tell you how not everything is Avengers Endgame. And I really wish we'd learned that lesson. Not everything is even Spider-Man No Way Home. We do not need every fucking movie that ends a series of movies to be the return of the king. If you're doing it with every movie that ends a series, then none of this becomes special and it all just becomes stupid. And this movie, it was special enough, just the fact that, you know, we were getting this again because there was some uncertainty of whether or not we'd get another Deadpool movie. It was special because they brought back Wolverine and everyone likes the character. We don't need this to be overly long. And there are moments of this movie that meander. There's a lot of Robert, help me, the pacing. There's a lot of pacing issues with this movie where, like, we are definitely drawing out some of these fight scenes because we don't know what to put on camera. I'm not taking away the Deadpool corpse moment because I know that's a thing in the comic books, and I have to remember this is mostly for Deadpool fans of the comic. So Lady Deadpool, the army of Deadpools, you know, Kid Pool, Baby Pool, Welch Pool, like whatever. I'm sure there were people in the audience that just thought that was the bee's knees. Okay, we can still cut some of this. We don't need to drag this out. They are way too in love with some of their own jokes, namely the stuff with the dog. Look, I'm not saying don't have the dog in the movie. I'm not saying don't do the joke, but that was a once or twice thing, and it needed to be cut. In each time, needed to be cut down by half. We are wasting precious screen time on him fawning all over this fucking dog. Like, we got it already. Move this on. It annoyed the living piss out of me. Ryan Reynolds in almost anything he's in that isn't, you know, his own, that is his own thing, is a little too in love with his own dialogue ratings. So him talking to himself, him talking to Nice Pool, those, again, it ran on forever. Like, none of the stuff with Nice Pool adds to the movie except go here. Yeah. They really didn't need, and so it's 90% shtick and 10% moving the plot forward. That's way too much. That you're a little too in love with your own baby, and this needed to be edited down. I know everyone came for the boom punch between Deadpool and Wolverine. If you're like, no, I wanted more fighting, good for you. It felt overly long. There was way too much of it. That end sequence again with the Deadpool corpse goes on interminably. And now we get to the plot, or what there was of it. Yikes. I've seen less forcing in French rape films than what was forced in this movie. It's terrible. Like, I can have a good time watching silly stuff happen on screen or stuff that kind of, you know, like tickles the back of my brain. But when I actually have to think about what I'm watching, like how we get to I said it before, the anchor character stuff was way hackneyed and just overwrought. They basically were screaming, well, we want Wolverine in this movie, so we have to make him the most important thing ever. Really? Why not Patrick Stewart? Why not some other character? Like, what, it's Wolverine because it's fucking Wolverine. And instead of just saying, like, I need help, let me go get the baddest motherfucker on the planet, and Mike Tyson's not available, so I got Wolverine. Okay, that would have been plenty. No, it's like, no, he has to be the anchor, stupid character. And it was one of the things that my son and I were having to talk about it. And it was like, yeah, on a meta level, it works. It's basically saying what we all said about those 3 X-Men movies where they became the Hugh Jackman show, and to a lesser extent, Halle Berry. Poor what's-his-face that played Scott Summers got such bad short shrift in that movie.
The writers for that show, for those movies, had no understanding of Cyclops as a character. Now, this is poignant satire that I don't think Marvel knew was going to be this satirical when they greenlit this movie continuing. Because, hey, how's the MCU been doing lately? now that you lost the 4 people that we cared about? The answer's not great, Ollie.
So, I got to touch on that in a second. But yeah, the whole forcing the whole anchor character thing, I thought was stupid. A lot of, there was a couple of times where I kept asking, but why? So, for example, we're going to move you into the Marvel Cinematic Universe because we've been told you're special. Wink. Okay, I'm with you. I get the meta commentary. We have to destroy your universe, but why? There's no good explanation for it. We have to, or there's no movie. That's dumb. The running around trying to grab different Wolverines. I mean, I love the montage. I especially loved, that they were brave enough to do him lash to the X, which I cheered for. But, it was like, it's a little too fan servicey. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, yeah, the villain in this thing really should have just been Paradox. What's her name?
Cassandra Nova.
Cassandra Nova has zero. I'm bad and I rule the desert. That's her whole fucking motivation. That's it. That's all she's doing. And these people came along and challenged her, and like it's the flimsiest of motivations and plots here. Like if you take out the cameos and the in jokes, there's nothing else to this movie. Your villains don't have good motivations. Your heroes don't have good motivations. And we're just kind of forcing the action figures to fight in a sandbox. Which brings me to my last criticism. This is an ugly movie. Like, I don't think they did this on purpose. I think they just, as Zach said, they were like, well, we've got a large cast budget, we've got a large CGI budget, so we're going to shoot this on the 3 lots at Universal Studios or some shit. Because I swear to God, I recognize that street. And, so we'll shoot this we'll shoot half of this movie in the desert and the other half, on this street backlot of New York City. And voila, lobster. I'm like, this is ugly. The color paletting is washed out.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember when they ran the Super Bowl commercial for the first time and you got to see it. And I was just like, oh my God, is half of this movie going to take place in this fucking blah looking wasteland? Like, I've seen plenty, Dune, Star Wars. I've seen plenty of deserts. I've seen plenty of wastelands. There's a way to do them where the color paletting pops. And this was who gives a fuck. This was them thinking no one's going to care about this. We can save money on a decent setting. It just looked ugly. It was uninteresting. Again, it's carried by performance and satirical screenwriting and not much else. That being said, I mean, Chae, I said a lot. I kind of dumped a lot out there. Is there anything you wanted to comment on?
I definitely think the movie was too long. I also really think that they could have gone a little bit more meta with the TVA's reasoning for destroying the universe,
Mm-hmm.
and had like another joke that very much poked at that. Like, we know that the TVA is the god machine, so if we want to kill a franchise, we're just gonna do it.
Yeah, it would have worked better than what they did.
Yeah, and I think the reasoning, honestly, it probably would have worked better if they were just like, we're gonna kill your universe because we think the rest of it's boring.
Honestly, have Michael Douglas just walk on screen and and when he was like, "Why are you killing my universe?" and him just scream, "Because it's killable, that's why," and then proceed to walk off screen.
Yeah,
and some people will get that Wall Street joke, and nobody else will. Zach, you want to comment on anything I've said, or are you good?
No, I think you're good.
Okay. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to bring up, just because you mentioned it, the commentary about like Marvel, like you're entering a kind of a low point. I laughed. I don't care either. At this point, look, we have been kicking Marvel for so long now. Everyone knows that there's problems. Every podcaster I watch on YouTube is now making fun of Brave New World because that's the trailer that's bouncing around. And even the guys on Half in a Bag, who aren't always in tune with the news, are like they've spent the gross national product of Paraguay on reshooting this thing 8 times. Like, everybody knows Marvel is in shambles, and what's ahead is not great. And then, like, you throw out the Robert Downey Jr. stuff that also happened this weekend, where he's been cast as Dr. Doom in the hailiest of Hail Marys, And we're like, we get it. Marvel's Marvel's a tatters, and they are trying anything they can think of, to jingle the keys to get people to come back. Like, all right, I don't have enough of an investment in this property to care that much. I laughed at what was there because it's funny, and then the rest of it I was like, whatever. Bad Robert.
Here's the problem with the satire in this movie. It is toothless. If you compare the tone of this Deadpool movie with the first one, and I did not enjoy the first one, but if we're talking satire, which has actual teeth?
Right.
There's no teeth here. It's Deadpool sanitized, is the best way I can express this. Oh, there's profanity. Oh, they make jokes about how we can't show cocaine. Well, that really only pays off if you then show them doing drugs.
Right.
And you don't, because that's actually a rule you have. So complaining about the rule and then following the rule is like, it's bad meta commentary, the same way that going, boy, that's a MacGuffin, give me the exposition, doesn't mean your writing isn't shit. You just know it's shit. And that's not good. So any of that is just, it's gone, man. There's no edge. There is no bite to satire. And satire that doesn't bite is bad PR. That's all this is. Hey, you like Deadpool. He's funny. Come see the MCU now. He might make fun of us after we've focus tested all of his jokes. Spare me. Terrible. I get why people are enjoying this. And I'm not...
Real quick,
Sure.
Is there anything that I said that you wanted to touch on or expand upon?
No, I largely agree with it.
Okay, continue.
So let me just... Yeah, this is not a good-looking movie, which is a real shame. Because the visuals aren't good. There's only one good fight between Wolverine and Deadpool, and it's in the minivan. Their big showdown in the desert in front of the 20th Century Fox logo is okay. And the sort of like, hey, one-shot side-scroller fight against the Deadpool Corps is forgettable. I mean, Ryan Reynolds making the joke, like, the only thing anyone's going to remember is that I fell on my face. I hope you meant that metaphorically as well as literally, because that didn't went. None of that worked. Not really. But I get why people are liking this, and I'm with you. I don't begrudge a love letter to the fans. I really don't. That has to come with a giant caveat, and it goes as follows. If your whole gimmick, if the only thing your movie does is jingle the nostalgia keys, right? And that's all this movie does. In fairness to this movie, I've seen much worse jingling of nostalgia keys than this. So, but if you don't have that, if you don't have nostalgia for the thing you're jingling the keys for, nothing about this works. All you're left with is irreverent humor that may or may not land, a dumb plot, and Hugh Jackman being too much of a professional to phone in anything. There's just nothing here. We can't actually make a comment. We can't actually make commentary on Disney's consolidation of power because we don't want people thinking badly of Disney or the MCU. We can't comment on all the morons who make bad decisions behind the scenes. We can't list this as produced by a jackass, which is what they did in the other trailers, in the other credit scrolls. This has to be a Kevin Feige production because his ego is too fragile to actually be insulted in that way. And we spend a lot of money on music so Deadpool can dance to NSYNC during our opening credits. Whatever. And here's a bunch of cameos. Again, we're jingling the keys. I don't have nostalgia for what you're jingling the keys for. I was there. I was your target audience for all this crap. I don't have nostalgia for your bad product. And believe me, a lot of it was bad. Elektra was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I think when I ran the math, the entire, now that I remember what was in the Fox Marvel universe, it batted about 500.
All right, let me do some quick math. For the
No,
sake of argument,
you keep going, because if we're gonna do this, we'll do it right. So
okay,
you finish, and then we'll do it.
Okay.
We can all as a group do this.
okay. So, if you don't have nostalgia for what you're jingling the nostalgia keys for, this movie is at arm's length, and it's not very good. The interactions between Deadpool and Wolverine are the highlight by far. Hugh Jackman he loves this character. He has been a professional forever and will not just phone this in. So he gives us some really good acting. Fair play. None of the action sequences are all that memorable. They're all messy. Again, it's an ugly looking movie. The entire setup and plot is rock stupid. Why we transition to, especially at the end, like, oh, your all-powerful psychic Omega level mutant is absorbing the power of the Time Ripper and won't notice you 2 feet below her messing with the machine. Sorry, no. And there's some real structural problems with a few of these scenes where all we do is like cut back to, I think, other takes from previous scenes that they weren't going to use otherwise, and we just throw them in here in a bit of like a flashbang or a montage to try and elicit an emotional reaction. Meh. I did not have a really good time here. I get why people are, and I'm not begrudging anyone that. The people who like this movie, I get it. Like, there have been times when I've sat up here going, I do not understand how people can like this. I get why people like this one. But if you don't like this humor, and if you don't have the requisite nostalgia, this is an interminable chore. And I don't care for Deadpool's sense of humor, and I don't have nostalgia for your mediocre product. So, sorry, I did not care for this movie.
So, real quick correction. Blade was New Line Cinema, which was owned by Warner Brothers. I really don't get then the connection to this, other than they were in the third movie together, Ryan Reynolds and Wesley Snipes. But
hang on. I can tell you
the reason they put Blade in there was so that they could get in that line. Some motherfuckers are still always trying to ice skate uphill.
I laughed hard at that, I'll admit. I clapped like a seal, and then I hated myself.
Look, man, there's 3 Blade movies. One of them's good, and it's the second one.
It's a bit of a non sequitur, but all right. Pass fail. Okay, here's the game, ladies and germs. All I need to hear is pass fail, and someone keep somewhat track of how many passes and how many fails. Okay?
Yes, sir. All right.
Ready, Chae?
Pass hand, fail hand.
Yeah. Pass.
No, I have to tell you the movie first.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta read it.
I haven't been on this segment before.
We're just making it up. We're calling it in the ring, kid. Zach, you got it? You got the game?
Oh, hang on. There's too many movies here for me to do this by hand.
Wait, what are we doing? Sorry, I wasn't listening. I'm just kidding.
Thank you for coming on and not listening. We're reading where I said they batted about 500 in total. Okay, so we're not going to count the Blade movies; those were New Line Cinema. But these are all the 20th Century Fox Marvel movies. All right. All I want is pass fail, so that, and then see if my math is correct, that at least 50% of them or more will pass. All right, here we go. The original X-Men is a pass for me. Chae?
Yeah, totally. Absolute pass.
Zach, you can either pass, fail, or abstain.
Pass.
If you didn't see it. Pass. Okay. Robert?
That's a pass.
Daredevil. Oof.
Fail.
It's a pass for me.
Pass for me, too.
You know this is the Ben Affleck one, right? And we're talking the theatrical release, not the
song. That song is so good. Wake me. That's what makes it a pass for me.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember what I said about this on the on trial anymore. But
listen, if this was the director's cut, I might say it could squeak to a pass. But no, this is we've got bad wire work as Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner fight on a teeter-totter.
All right, just to make this interesting, I'm going to say fail. All right, so
it's a fail.
All right, we got
Total
it.
fail.
50% of the panel agreed with you. X2, pass.
That's a pass.
Never saw.
Pass.
Okay, we have 3 passes and 1 abstain. Elektra, deep fail. Whoa, what a failure.
We don't even have to poll the electorate here. That's a giant fail.
Yeah, that was a fail.
Never saw.
Okay, 3
You're
fails.
better off.
3 fails and an abstain. Fantastic Four, the Tim Story Fantastic Four. I'm going to go with pass on this one. Shawn and I did a long road to ruin on this. I mean, was it the Fantastic Four movie I wanted? No, but when I don't focus on stuff like that, I actually think the first one's a solid story. I think the characterizations are pretty close to the comic book versions. There's some juvenile stuff in there, and it was definitely, they were skewing for like a younger audience, which kind of sucked. But I think sort of taking a deep breath and accepting it what it is, it was a solid story. So I'm giving it a pass. Chae?
Yeah, Fantastic Four. I'm definitely giving that one a pass as well.
Okay, Robert, fail.
Hang on. No, I'm thinking about this one. You know, on a pure pass-fail scale, I actually can get, I can go with pass on that. It's not good, but if it's pass-fail, I think we can give that a pass.
All right, Zach?
Pass.
Okay. X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Even though I have come to this movie's defense, I'm going to go with fail.
Fail.
Chae?
I'm gonna pass that.
Really? Why?
So I'm gonna end up passing a lot of the early 2000s comic book movies because those are the comic book movies that I grew up with.
Okay.
I was like 14, 15 when all of this stuff came out.
Gotcha.
And that's how I remember comic book movies being. It's fantastic that we've got all of these new comic book movies that have amazing storylines and stuff like that. But nostalgia bait for me is all of this bullshit.
That's fair. Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Fail. Zachary?
That's a fail.
Pass, but it's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
I
Chae?
did not actually end up seeing that one.
Oh, spare
You're better
yourself.
off.
Yeah. X-Men's Origins Wolverine. Fail.
Fail.
Here's
Yeah,
the only.
it's a fail for me too.
Here's the only good thing about that movie. Okay, y'all ready for this?
I'm ready.
Anytime Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber get to act opposite each other, it's really good because they're both really good actors.
Yeah,
everything else is.
When Shawn and I did the on trial for it, there was a lot of positive things I said about it. I think taken as a whole, it sucks, but there were positive elements to the craft. X-Men First Class is a pass.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Chae?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a first pass. Definitely a pass on First Class.
Very good. Zachary, pass or
Never
fail?
saw it. Never saw it.
Okay, he's an abstain. Robert?
What for? No, we're moving on.
First Class.
I was okay with that one being a pass.
Okay. The Wolverine, pass. Chae?
I did not see it.
Oh, boo. Go watching it when we're done here. Zachary?
I actually saw half of it and then I fell asleep in the movie theater. But I did like what I saw.
You pulled a mark.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I'm the only one in the history of the universe that's ever fallen asleep in a movie. Fuckface. All right.
No, you just did it consistently for a long time.
Yeah, so do most middle-aged women. Shut up. The Wolverine, pass. Yeah?
I got to think about that because.
Are you out of your mind?
Hang on. Look, first 2/3, big thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
That ending is so bad. It honestly, it means I have to think about it. Okay, it's that bad.
I feel like the subway sequence offsets the ending.
It's first of all, it's a bullet train, not a subway.
Who gives a fuck?
Well, that's an important distinction. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
because the United States bureaucracy will allow us to build subways and not bullet trains.
Oh my God. Pass or fail?
I'll give it a pass because I know everyone else will. But
X-Men: Days of Future Past, pass. Chae?
the best X-Men movie.
Do you think it's better than X2? Really?
Actually, I really like this. So yeah, pass.
Zach?
Pass.
Oh,
All
are
right.
you kidding? This has the emotional core of that is so much better than X2.
All right,
Comically.
fan four stick pass. Just kidding.
This is so bad, it counts as 2 failures. Okay, let's
Yeah.
be very clear about that.
Yeah, this is fail squared. All righty. Have you seen this disaster, Chae?
I have not. I actually intentionally did not watch that.
I don't know if you're into
looked
getting.
at that off of the trailers.
I don't know if you're into getting fucked up and watching movies, but I highly suggest you do. Get drunk or high and watch Fan Four Stick. You'll have the time of your life, and about the only way you'll get through it. Zach, you ever seen this one?
No, and actually, I wish I did because it looks terrible, but like in a good way, is it?
No.
Oh, then never mind.
It's like Fan Four Stick is like, what if Scorsese made a Superman movie, but it was also terrible?
Like, if you think you'll have a good time at how bad it is, by all means try. This is me warning you. It's so bad.
How bad is it?
It's 4 different directors bad, none of whom restarted.
Yeah, it is a clearly Frankenstein movie. Like, you know, like we've got Mara, whatever the fuck her name was, with, you know, a bad wig. It's so bad.
Yeah, poor Kate Mara got pulled back in for reshoots after she had no longer dyed her hair and was not going to dye it back to blonde for this. So they just stuck a wig on her head.
It's Henry
really
Cavill's
obvious.
mustache bad. It's really bad.
And
All
Michael B. Jordan making one of 2 faces.
All right, Deadpool's a pass for most known humans. Chae?
Yeah.
Pass.
Begrudging pass.
I acknowledge I will yield to the majority, but that's all.
Okay. X-Men Apocalypse is the only one on this list I have mixed feelings about. Like, like I almost want to abstain because there are parts of Apocalypse that work well. There are parts of Apocalypse that are just plumb stupid. It's kind of a blah movie. I guess if we're judging this strictly on, you know, craft wise, does this pass? It's not
a fail.
It's not incompetent.
It's a fail. Move on.
You say it's a fail. I'm gonna go pass. Chae?
You can acknowledge that there
I
are
haven't
good.
actually seen this one.
Okay.
Never thought.
It's a it's a failure.
All right. You know what? Robert convinced me it's a failure. Logan, pass. Easy.
Easy pass. The best solo movie of this entire era by a wide margin.
Okay. Everyone's agreeing on a pass for Logan?
I never saw it.
Yeah.
Great. Everyone agrees. Deadpool 2, pass.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Excellent.
Dark Phoenix, 2 fails and a snap. This is so bad. Dark Phoenix
so
is
bad.
awful.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Chae, did you see Dark Phoenix?
I have not seen Dark Phoenix. There's a lot of them past 2010 that I've just not seen.
I do a double feature. Get drunk and watch Dark Phoenix with Fan Four Stick and have yourself a time. Zach, did you see this one?
No.
Good. Spare yourself. All right, and finally, New Mutants, which I want to talk about this for just 1 second because I had cancer during New Mutants and I had a rough time sitting through it because I was going through chemo at the time. And I couldn't tell how bad the movie was or how bad the chemo was killing me. That's how bad New Mutants is. I wasn't sure which was worse, the chemo or the movie. So, fail.
I would take a single session of chemo over watching that movie again.
Yeah, so would I.
Awful.
I haven't seen it.
Spare yourself. It's not even like it's not the family entertainment that Fan Four Stick is. Zach, anything with New Mutants?
Nope.
All right, Robert, what's the results?
Hey, bring that list back up. We're not done.
What do you mean we're not done?
There's more movies on that list.
No, there isn't. After that, we're into the Spider-Man shit.
What? We're not counting the Punisher movies?
That's Artisan Entertainment, according to this. I have I have the, oh my god, just to make you happy.
You have it sorted by studio? Is that how that works?
I have it sorted by studio. So if you're just to be clear, okay. So yes, the Punisher was Artisan, Spider-Man is Sony, Columbia Sony. Punisher Warzone, Lionsgate. Then we're into the MCU proper. And then Blade is New Line Cinema, which was owned by Warner Brothers. Howard the Duck is Universal, as was Ang Lee's Hulk. Happy now?
Okay. So if we're just going based on what you had there, yeah, we're at 9 passes, 10 fails as a general consensus. Again, if you're me, that skews much heavier towards failure, but
Okay. All right. So, like I said, about 500. All right,
give or
folks.
take, yeah.
Speaking of numbers, here we go with the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All righty. Deadpool Wolverine, at the time of this recording, on a $200 million budget, made $444.7 million. The box office is way too hungry. But as of July 28th, 2024, Deadpool and Wolverine had grossed $211.4 million in the US and Canada, $233.3 million in the territory for a worldwide of $400 million. I'm going to skip that. The week of release, Deadline Hollywood projected a worldwide opening of $340 to $350 million, a noted increase from prior lesser predictions, which did not consider the substantial walk-up that served Latino and Hispanic moviegoers. It was a factor from which other movies heavily benefited during the summer. An estimated contribution from that demographic, as well as consideration for the prospects of the film being viewed by a younger audience. At that point, ticket pre-sales for the US and Canada stood at 35 million, a number taken that last Friday, July 19th. The film made 38.5 million in Thursday night preview, setting a record for an R-rated film. On opening day, the film made 96 million domestically, becoming the biggest opening day for an R-rated film and the 6th biggest in history. The film recovered its reported budget in just 2 days. God, can you imagine being, other movies and other production heads, and you're just like, ugh, I wish. It was then projected on that Saturday to make 195 to 205 million at the domestic box office, and as high as 420 million worldwide in its opening weekend. Another number predicted it to make 205 million domestically and 438 million worldwide, which would make it achieve the 8th highest opening weekend in the highest opening weekend for any R-rated film domestically and worldwide, as well as having the highest domestic opening weekend for a film in July of all time, beating 2019's The Lion King. Woo! It ultimately
Now the Ryan King.
It ultimately exceeded those predictions and grossed 211.4 million domestically and again 444.3 million worldwide, achieving the 6th biggest box office opening of all time. It currently has the biggest debut of 2024, surpassing Inside Out to 154.2 million. You know what makes me sad about this, Robert? Ask me what makes me sad.
What makes you sad, Mark?
That next year when we do our year in review and we look at the year in financials, we won't be able to kick Disney roundly in the teeth for a 3rd year running.
No, but I'm
on the strength of 2 movies, it's going to win its year.
Can I just tell you how unbearably disingenuous a bunch of people have been about this?
How unbearably disingenuous, Robert?
The number of people out there going, see, movies are back. There's room for everyone at the theater.
Yeah, it took 6 months to get The Beekeeper out of the top 10. That came out in January.
Hang on, 2 things. 1, yes. First half of this year was a write-off for everybody, almost.
Yeah.
2, you don't get to claim that there's room for everyone in movies when Deadpool and Inside Out 2 take up 3/4 of all screen time. Yeah. Hey, Mark, remember the early 2000s with all those terrible other movies when Disney wasn't a monopoly?
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So this may come as a complete shock to everybody, but Deadpool and Wolverine won the weekend.
Horrifying.
Twisters dropped from 1 to 2 and had only a 56.9% drop, which is actually pretty good considering
that's an okay hold.
Yeah, considering it was up against this. Like, I'm not knocking it. Despicable Me 4, which fell from 2 to 3 in its 4th week. Currently at 14 million domestic. Inside Out.
That was the weekend.
Yeah. Sorry. Inside Out 2 dropped from 3 to 4. Long Legs, which Robert got to review on Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do, fell from 4 to 5. A Quiet Place fell from 5 to 6. Bad Boys maintained its spot at 7, 8 weeks out. The Fabulous Four, not to be confused with the Fantastic Four, debuted at number 8. Fly Me to the Moon, speaking of movies that are bombing, 3 weeks out, has fallen from 6 to 9. No one gives a fuck. Ryan debuted at number 10. Maxine fell from 9 to 11. Dee Dee, its first week of Focus feature, that debuted at number 12. The Beast Within debuted at 20. Time Masters at 40. Mapansala, 42. The Last Breath, 48. The Arctic Cowboy at 51. And that was the weekend that was. Worldwide, this should come as no shock to anybody. Inside Out 2 is currently still the only movie that's made $1 billion, but give it a minute. Deadpool will get there.
Give it a couple of weeks, yeah.
Yeah. Dune, it's at 711. Despicable Me is shooting up the charts at 679. It has passed Godzilla times Kong, The New Empire at 567.
Probably pass Dune Part 2 in the near future.
Yep. Kung Fu Panda 4 got knocked down to number 5 at 545 million. And Deadpool and Wolverine making its debut at number 6 for 444 million. In one weekend, it beat Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Bad Boys, A Quiet Place, and Garfield.
Not Garfield.
Yeah, poor Garfield. Twisters is currently at number 11 at 220. Ghostbusters.
It'll get into the top 10 next week.
As we predicted, Ghostbusters finally out of the top 10 at 201. Robert also reviewed that on Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do, is at 186, number 13 for the year. Bob Marley from February, currently number 14. The Fall Guy, speaking of movies that bombed this year, petered out at 178. And not to be outdone, The Fall Guy's younger sister, Furiosa, petered out at 172 million. Furiosa couldn't beat The Fall Guy.
Couldn't beat The Fall Guy.
But it took some solace in beating The Beekeeper.
No, it didn't, because The Beekeeper made a lot of money.
Yeah.
They shot The Beekeeper for like, what, 20 million? 50?
Mm.
They shot that for nothing.
Speaking of which, Civil War made all kinds of money because they shot that thing for $150. That's at number 18 and 122 million. Mean Girls, number 19 and 104. Detective Conan at 100. And rounding out the $100 million plus club is Madam Web. Movies that people might have seen that are currently doing worse than Madam Web. Argyle, Challengers, Long Legs, Night Swim, The First Omen, Back to Black, Tarot, Abigail, Imaginary, Fly Me to the Moon, Monkey Man, Arthur and King, The Bike Riders, etc., etc. All right, so that's the weekend. This weekend coming up is nothing that I'm reviewing. Trap comes out from M. Night Shyamalan. That was actually supposed to come out the following week along with Borderlands. They pushed it up a week. So Trap comes out this Friday. I mean, if you already saw Deadpool and you want to go to the movies, maybe people will go see it. Maybe, that small sliver of people who don't care about Deadpool but are interested in what M. Night Shyamalan does will go. I think they shot
a very small overlap on that Venn diagram.
Yeah, I think Trap will do okay. I don't think it's going to break any records, and I think Deadpool's going to repeat the number one spot. After that is Borderlands, and here's my question. And I'll open it up to everybody so people feel included. So Borderlands is a pretty popular video game. The trailer is pretty crowd pleasing. Every time my kid sees it, he gets very excited. There's some good buzz on it, and I haven't heard anything bad about Borderlands.
But it'll be listening.
Then it'll be the third week Deadpool is out. So my question is, who wins that weekend, Chae? Deadpool or Borderlands? What do you think?
I'd say probably Borderlands. Borderlands and Deadpool have a lot of the same audience.
Yeah.
Which is me. I'm stoked to see Borderlands.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by the time Borderlands does come out, the Deadpool audience that is like super gung-ho about going and seeing it has already seen it. Probably twice.
Zach,
probably a couple times.
Here's my question to you. The reason why Endgame and Avatar both made $2 billion was because of rewatchability. For whatever the reasons, especially that second one. For whatever the reasons are, people want to live in that universe. I mean, with Endgame, it was a big fuck all celebration of 10 years of Marvel movies. It was a cause celebrate. So we all knew. So that got a lot of repeat viewings. People kept going back to see what they had missed. People just wanted to be in that universe. They wanted to have that same feeling. It was a little addictive. Endgame was. Avatar, especially the first one, a little less so the second one. Again, people just want to live in that universe. They want to be a big, blue monkey thingy, whatever those aliens are. Robert and I talked at length when we reviewed The Way of the Water about this. They just love the shit out of that universe. and people kept going to the movies repeatedly to be there, to be part of it. So that's why those movies make $2 billion. My question to you and then the panel is, does this Deadpool and Wolverine have rewatchability? Do you think people do Endgame or Avatar number of rewatches with this thing?
Probably not, just because, I mean, there's only like two. Well, I mean, there's really I just think it's gonna, some of the jokes are gonna get dated, and I think because it's so ugly, I think there really wasn't too much to look in the background. So I'm gonna go with no. I give it 5 years probably of relevancy.
What about you, Chae? Rewatchability? And might I tell you that I saw Pulp Fiction in the movies like 20 times.
I would say rewatchability as a film, no. But this movie is heavily memeable. We are going to be seeing it in TikToks and compilations and shit like that for fucking ever now.
Okay. Well, I get that. Look, as somebody who's on TikTok a lot and sees every clip of Ted Lasso 20 times a day, whatever. I live in this universe. I don't care. My point is, do you think people are going to shell out their $20 to see it repeatedly in the movie theater? And you seem to think no.
No, not to see it repeatedly in the movie theater. I think it's going to get a little bit more of an audience that wants to see it again later on when they're like, oh, this meme came up. I forgot I watched that movie.
Which, Robert, that brings up an interesting point. If this doesn't have rewatchability and everyone who was going to see it saw it this weekend because it did such massive numbers, by week 3, do you think it's done? Enough that Borderlands is number 2, is the number 1 movie of that weekend.
There's a decent chance. I gotta wait to see what the drop is on this, because it opened very big. So my hunch is it'll have an okay second week. I think the third week is where it really is gonna fall off. It would be my hunch. Yeah, it might be enough for Borderlands to sneak into that spot. That's gonna depend a lot on like what people say about it once some of their embargoes are over. Because Borderlands is a weird property, and they made some weird choices with that movie. Chief among them, Kevin Hart. It was a bad call for Roland. Just gonna throw that out there. Bad call.
All right, and then after Borderlands, we have Alien Romulus, which I think will win its weekend.
Probably.
But now we're 4 weeks out from Deadpool. Also rated R, a horror movie, a known property, but I don't know how much of an appetite people have for new Alien stuff. Especially, and I'm interested in this one. I actually was doing some reading on it today. I was sharing this with my son. Every time I say this, I want to hit my hand with a hammer. It's an interquel. I don't know if you know that or not, but it's an interquel, which means that it's a sequel that takes place between Alien 79 and James Cameron's Aliens. So in the timeline, it takes place between those two movies.
Okay.
But it's also
care.
And yeah, it doesn't matter. It's going to be standalone. I mean, to me, it feels like a soft reboot of the entire Aliens thing. It's like, look, we're doing Alien again from 79, but only modern.
It's not so much a reboot as it is like product relaunch.
Yeah. But I don't know how much of an appetite the world has for paying for more Alien stuff. Like, this was originally supposed to be straight to Hulu. And then they were like, no, people go to the movies now. It's fine. Put it out there. I think also, if I may say this, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but I think in the year or two since they started throwing everything onto streamers and seeing what that dealt, there became a belief, and maybe a truth, that when you throw something onto a streaming service, you're cheapening it. You're telling people this was definitely the argument made by Pixar. When you throw something directly on to streamers or you make it day and date, you're telling people it's not good enough to carry itself in a theater. So we'll just, shit can it and throw it onto a streaming service. And I think that's part of the reason why they were like, no, if we're going to do an Alien movie, let's get this thing into theaters. We don't want to tell people that Aliens is terrible. So that being said, also, we've done quite a number of these straight to streamer movies like we did, was it Hellraiser a year or two ago?
Yeah.
We did the Predator sequel, Prey.
Yeah.
So you're taking a chance, but I think also, and this is kind of the Red One thing.
Look, man.
Not Red One. What do you call it? Red, the fuck rock movie with Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds.
Notice.
Thank you. Where, oh my God, a zillion people watched it on Netflix. Surely if we had released it in theaters, a zillion people would have gone. Well, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, those don't correlate 1-to-1. I'm okay with them taking a shot on this one for a couple of reasons. One, we're in an okay place to release a horror movie like that. Like, it's not going up against anything else in the genre that's going to butt into its audience. It is a known IP that you're going to try to rehab after Ridley Scott just bent that thing over the pinball machine for 2 movies. And I even like Prometheus. Okay. I actually defend that movie. I think it gets a really unfairly bad rap. Covenant is rock stupid.
Yeah. Covenant's way dumb.
So they're trying to rehab this. So you got a director who's known to horror fans. You put it in a time period where you don't have to worry too much about it. We make sure Ridley Scott is not here to interfere in it. He's off deciding that a Gladiator sequel 20 years on is a good idea.
I don't understand why this was necessary.
I don't know what Ridley Scott's doing, and I kind of wish he'd stop.
Yeah, Ridley Scott needs someone who loves him to say no. All right,
So
and then
I think Romulus will do fine. Is kind of the long and the short of that.
And then we close out the month of August with quite possibly the worst fucking movie of the entire summer. I mean, like, we hit the high highs, but we are definitely going into the dark alley with Joe Chill, and that movie is this new Crow. It's funny. I walked out before the podcast started, and they were having a conversation with Jonas, Melissa, Chris, and my daughter, and they were saying,
I'm sure your daughter is thrilled about the Crow.
I showed him the original, and she thinks the new Crow looks amazing, and I'm like, all right, well, no, you're entitled to your opinion. But
hang on, this Crow is a 13-year-old Tumblr version of the original Crow.
Yes, you say
that's exactly your daughter's wheelhouse.
You've said that a few times. Jonas made the point of saying, I'm not excited for this new Crow movie. It looks terrible. And they all jumped on his case about it. And, it was like, you shouldn't go into everything saying it's bad. And I'm like, I know somebody like that. And no, you shouldn't. But also things that are bad are bad.
Some stuff looks bad. It just does.
I think a conversation about which is what is in order here. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. I have been here with you for 7 months, 8 months now. I've watched all of these movies. I've had things to say. I am genuinely not looking forward to The Crow. Any thoughts on The Crow, Chae?
I am very much not looking forward to it either.
Did you see the original with Brandon Lee?
I loved the original so much.
And the badass soundtrack, right?
Oh God, the best fucking soundtrack.
Yeah.
Hang on, I can't remember the other one, but that and what's the other one?
Night.
The two. Those are the hallmarks of movie soundtracks.
Damn right. I am the way to go, Zachary. I am the way of the future. Any history with The Crow? Have you ever seen the original?
No, I didn't even know they were making a new one. Until you.
God.
Mark, you made Zach's life worse. How dare you?
He won't be the first nor the last. All right. Anything else about the money? If not, we're gonna move this on.
Nah, this one, we all knew this was gonna be a winner. Like, that's not a shock at all.
Yeah. All right, folks. Here it is, the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Well, there it is,
That's
folks.
about right.
Yep. We have a 78% fresh on the tomato meter, and then a 97% audience score. Some motherfuckers are still trying to skate uphill. All right, so that's all critics. 78%. When you go to top critics, it drops it to 63.
That actually doesn't surprise me all that. Look, man, we talked about it. If you approach this with a critical eye,
Yeah.
this thing falls apart.
Yeah, oh no, I spent a good couple of minutes ripping this thing to shreds, and I'm sure I made somebody cry. All right, yeah.
One
So
could
all
help.
audience is 96, and then verified audience is 97. The AI writes, Ryan Reynolds makes himself at home in the MCU with an acerbic wit, while Hugh Jackman provides an adamantium backbone to proceedings in Deadpool and Wolverine, an irreverent romp with a surprising soft spot for a bygone era of superhero movies. Ugh.
Bad AI.
Alrighty. Robert Dennerstein of Dennerstein Unleashed. My bet, hardcore fans will gorge on this heaping Marvel meal. Others might prefer to seek their big screen nourishment elsewhere. Sir, why the food puns?
Why the food metaphor? Yeah, that's an odd one.
Oh my god. I don't agree with this at all. Mike McGranigan of Aisle Seat. Deadpool and Wolverine is the airplane of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Oh, no, sir.
Sir, I invite you to go play in traffic. You have either not seen Airplane, not seen it recently enough, or have no appreciation for that kind of parody. This is not what's going on here at all.
First of all, this makes Airplane look fucking subtle. Okay.
It does. We've reached the point where like the Mel Brooks school of satire has become subtle, and more on that tomorrow.
Yeah. Alrighty. Hugo Hernandez, Valdivia, Cinecation. Nothing in this film that I value in cinema or the superhero genre.
I appreciate that, but I do have to say, like, you're substituting yourself for objective criticism a bit too heavily there, my friend.
Huey. Facebook Man CD of the hashtag content report, Substack. Really? That's what we're doing now on Rotten Tomatoes, Substacks?
Dude, all the outlets are dying. You have to take people who are like,
And yet we toil in obscurity.
have you tried submitting us to them again?
No, because I didn't think are they taking garbage now? Because in that case, I will try.
I mean, first of all, they're clearly taking garbage. The question is whether or not they'll take us.
Maybe. I'm going to give it another shot.
Yay.
Anyway. Vincent Mancini of the Substack. The superhero who swears is still a fun angle, but it was more fun when Deadpool's jokes were at Marvel's expense, not about how great Marvel is.
Yeah. Again, I said that. That's absolutely true.
Alrighty. Ed Whitfield of the Outre, Chae Tate.
He only does that so he can say outre that way.
Uh-huh. The impossible has been achieved. We're finally sorry for James Mangold. That's not a review.
One, not a review. Two, no, I'm still not sorry for that lying sack of crap.
Speaking of lying sack of crap, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome.
That tracks. Nice segue.
Thank you. A film solely relies on comedy, action, and fan service, but it does all three of them very well. Oof.
Well enough.
This is a little phoned in. Linda Cook doesn't watch movies or pay attention to stuff of our Quad Cities, WHBF TV, Illinois. This proves Marvel isn't dead in the water. No, it doesn't.
It proves nothing. Nothing.
All right. Black Robert Winfree, Armand White
There
of
we
National
go.
Review. I've missed this man. Where have you been, Armand White?
I bet if you asked, you could interview him.
Reynolds co-wrote this obnoxious script with Rhett Reese, Paul Wernick, and Zeb Wells, and the real subject here is not the mystery of existence across time and dimensions, but the cynical exaggerations of showbiz venality. I love you, Armand White. Never change.
You're not wrong, but you're delving a little too deep into the thesaurus there just to try and feel superior.
Sean Burns is no fun of North Shore movies. Barely a
As
movie.
a guy who is not fun, I resemble that remark.
Barely a movie. Deadpool and Wolverine is a filmed attempt to realign corporate assets under a new umbrella. It will probably make $1 billion. And no shit show off.
Yeah, look, man, I'm not saying you're wrong to be cynical about this, but review the movie.
All right, my sworn enemy, Michael Medved of the Michael Medved Show.
You are taking that to the grave.
Gee
In fact,
whiz, Gambit movie.
I'm pretty sure when he dies, you're going to take a trip to where he's buried and piss on his grave.
If nothing else, because I have to pee. Ryan Reynolds easily upstages Wolverine's Hugh Jackman in an R-rated, ultra-violent, annoyingly indulgent film. Provides a few moments of humor, but hardly anything in the way of real thrills. So he's not wrong.
He's not wrong about the back end of that. I completely disagree about who steals the scenes.
Jeremy Johns of JeremyJohns.com, the T up. He spelled T-E-A. I don't think he meant that. It shouldn't be T-T-E-E. T up?
Yes.
Okay, Jeremy Johns is plumb retarded. The T up, the pairing of these two characters is damn right perfect. Ugh, fanboy.
One fanboy, two badly written sentence.
Alrighty. Last one here. Rendy Jones of Rendy Reviews. This amalgamation of claws and katanas deserved a superior cinematic package. Did you just read that from did somebody at Marvel send that to you? And that you just...
It kind of feels that way a little bit.
Good grief. All right, folks. Well, that is our review in just under 2 hours of Deadpool and Wolverine. Chae, tell the people what kind of stuff you're into, where they can find you, all that good stuff. When you'll be back, I'll figure out when you'll be back. I'll tell you when you'll be back.
So I'm an FX makeup artist. I actually do a lot of work with Dorian Price for Frankie Pictures. I do some theatrical stuff. You can generally find me at Shae Tate, primarily on Facebook. And that's really about all I've got going on.
Okay, if you enjoyed Chae and her commentary about the film, she will be back on talking more superhero movies. She'll be with Evan Bevins in the greatest superhero pairing since Deadpool and Wolverine. I've got Shae Tate and Evan Bevins, good to his mother, some language, talking Tank Girl, Mystery Men, and The Rocketeer. And the theme of that the theme of that one is movies based on comics that don't have an exact translated book. Comic strips and stuff like that.
Well, you got one good movie there.
Hey, she's a big fan of Mystery Men. That's what she wanted to be on.
Yeah, I fucking love Mystery Men.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying Mystery Men isn't enjoyable. I'm saying it's not very good.
I've actually never seen it. I've never seen any of these.
Oh, okay. Hang on, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Mystery Men will amuse you to no end, and then you're going to think about it for a minute because you have to review it and go, "Wait, what?"
I may have seen I may have seen The Rocketeer, and I have never seen Tank Girl. That much I know.
Tank Girl is a fever dream. It's
great.
Tank Girl has Ice-T dressed as a dog man.
Perfect.
And Malcolm McDowell quoting Dante.
Tank Girl has been on my short list of things to review for years now, and we figured out how to do it, so we're doing it.
The actual comic book deserved much better than that movie.
All right,
and I don't care much for either, but I can still admit that. No, The Rocketeer is hands down the best movie of that trio you've selected.
So that's when she'll be back. That'll be August 15th. All right. Zachary Strobel, I hear you write books and paint houses.
That first part was true, but
Tell everyone you're an assassin.
The second half is a veiled reference to contract killing, yes.
Yes, I do write books on this website. I don't know if you guys know about it. It's called Amazon. And on Amazon, I write children's books, but my goal is to make books that have morals and adults will enjoy reading with their children. We've got great books like Dinosaurs on the Moon, Deborah the Retail Worker. These are all real, by the way. And what other?
I believe you.
Yeah. Well, I've only said it on every show. But how do you find such wonderful literary goodness? Well, you go to Amazon. Oh, I forgot to whisper. Whatever. It's dead. Amazon.com. You go to the little search bar, or you can even go on Google and type in Zachary Strobel books. So Zachary Strobel books. You should know how to spell that. But yeah.
All right. And Zach will be on. When are you back, Zach?
Whenever you want me to.
I don't want anyone. So it's whenever you volunteer. You'll be back for the Wild Robot at the end of September. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
That robot isn't too wild.
Can I
boy.
tell you the second trailer for that muted a bunch of my enthusiasm for that movie?
I don't blame you. All right.
The Wild Robert.
Tomorrow, we are reviewing The Boys season 4 against my better judgment and wishes. It'll be myself, Robert, Jesse, which would have been fine, but Alexis Hana will also be there. And between that and my general lack of enthusiasm for the entirety of season 4, I am not looking forward to that review. But we're gonna get through it like we get through everything, like Vietnam vets getting into the helicopter, leaving Vietnam, just all bandaged up and bloody. It'll be fine. I'm gonna drink. It'll be fine. But that's it for this week. Next week, we've got we are finally Chris Bailey wrapping up Sons of Anarchy season 7. I'm about halfway through it now.
So you ended on the big cliffhanger for 6.
Yeah. I just watched season 7. It's episode 7 tonight. Thursday, I will be over on Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do, probably talking Trap and hopefully Back to Black. I'm not entirely sure yet. But Alexis Hana will be holding it down. She'll be doing a House of the Dragon season 2 review with David Wright and Andrew Orozco. So check that out if you please. Robert Winfree, show us where you pissed from.
All right, so I get to be very busy this week. Not only do I have this podcast tonight and tomorrow doing The Boys season 4, and that's going to boil down to like a religious debate, and I don't like those, but that's what we're going to wind up doing, so that'll be fun. But we've reviewed the other 3 seasons. We figure we'll see it through because there's only one more after this, but season 4 was not good, and not like even in an interestingly bad way. So tune in for that. Wednesday, I will be covering AW Dynamite because I want a bigger paycheck. They asked me to. Friday, WWE SmackDown, which is the go-home show for SummerSlam. So we'll be dealing with that over on the Blue brand. SmackDown's been in a rut lately. We'll see if they can start getting things back on the upward swing before the pay-per-view. Then Saturday, I have UFC on ABC 7. That starts in the morning. And we'll end 1 hour before WWE SummerSlam starts. So I will have 1 hour to do something before I cover SummerSlam. So I get to be a very busy guy. And then back on Sunday with the podcast. So, yeah, busy. And that'll be fun. So much fun to be had. If you want to, this last Saturday, I covered UFC 304, which took place in England and started at like 11 local time. And the last fight wrapped up around 6 in the morning. So that was a choice. You find my full report for that in the MMA Zone 4 on Romania.com. If you want a breakdown and a preview of the upcoming UFC event, I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find me over there. Again, review, preview this week, and a little bit of news, not much. Kind of a quiet news week, all things considered. So tune in for that if you're so inclined. And yeah, I have something pretty much every day this week. So good times. Good times.
Well, Chae, it was a pleasure to have you. I'm looking forward to talking Mystery Men and Tank Girl and Rocketeer with you. Zach, always a pleasure. For Chae, Robert, Zach, me, I'm so tired. Be well, be safe, and behave.